When it comes to cholesterol, it seems to be both a controversial and confusing topic, and I really don't think it has to be either. Many patients come to me after being told they need to go on statins, and many of them are open to it, but they do have questions on the importance of statins and how well do they work. I myself have prescribed and do recommend statins to certain patients who I feel will benefit. However, I want to clear up, sort of the misconceptions behind cholesterol and sort of my unique take on how to view cholesterol and how to appropriately address it. Now, first of all, I always tell patients when they come to me, cholesterol in and of itself is not a bad thing. Cholesterol is in all of our cells. It's very important. It makes up our hormones, and it's a very important molecule for our overall health. And so it's not the cholesterol that's bad. It's really what the association between finding high cholesterol in our blood work and specific diseases, risks for like heart disease and heart attacks. And so the reason cholesterol, has this bad reputation if it's high is because it's been found in, research that when it is high, people tend to have higher risks for heart attacks and heart disease. Now, the way I look at it is not that clear cut. And I know there's different markers to even further break down which types of cholesterol molecules there are, and I may even do that. But at the end of the day, a simplified way of looking at this is sort of thinking about it this way, which is how I think about it. When it comes to heart attacks and heart disease, the main risk factor, I believe, is really underlying inflammation. And inflammation really accounts for most of the diseases that we see in America. And inflammation is essentially when our body, recognizes something shouldn't be, or there is some damage, and our body uses inflammatory response to sort of fix it and resolve the issue. However, our diet tends to be one of the biggest influencers on sort of chronic inflammation. When we eat poorly, we're taking in foods that we likely don't need, ingredients that we don't need, and our body responds accordingly. And then it makes an inflammatory response. And over time, this inflammatory response can damage cells and break things down. And so I think that a poor diet and lack of exercise is really what contributes to more inflammation in our body and may damage the blood vessels that supply our heart. And so when you have this damage to our blood vessels, well, then the cells start to break down, and cholesterol actually will then go in there and sort of patch things up to sort of kind of keep it from, further damaging. But over time, if we have consistent and chronic inflammation, we'll have to have more cholesterol packed into the blood vessel, and then at one point, that cholesterol or plaque may actually clot and explode, essentially, and block the blood flow to our heart, which then causes a heart attack. And so if you see and learn that it's not the cholesterol that's the problem, it's just really the chronic inflammation over time, and the cholesterol was sort of like a symptom that was trying to fix the problem, but in the end blocked the blood flow and then caused the heart attack. And so that's where statins can kind of be used, is to sort of treat the consistent buildup of cholesterol. But if you realize that it's not the cholesterol that's the issue, it's we're just solving a symptom, which may need to be, addressed. You do have to address symptoms sometimes, but the real problem, like most things in America, comes down to what we're eating and how we're moving. It's the chronic inflammation that's caused from living a poor lifestyle. Now, that's why I do always look at the big picture. So when someone comes to me and says that they have high cholesterol, I will order blood work to determine and assess how high that cholesterol is. But I would more importantly ask them about how do they live? What are they eating? How do they move? Right? That information is really more important to me, because if I hear they're eating a very poor diet, a typical American diet, they're not exercising, I'm going to know right away that their risk for heart attack, heart disease, without even looking at blood work, is high, because that's what causes most of the disease. I will also ask my patients any family history of heart attacks, heart disease at younger ages, maybe 30s, 40s. If that's the case, then sometimes a statin may be indicated because they may have a big genetic predisposition. But for some healthy people, for many healthy people, when they come in, they tell me they eat very well, they exercise a lot, they take care of themselves, no young history of heart attacks or heart disease in their family, and then I find on their blood tests that they have high cholesterol. Well, then I'm not concerned that that cholesterol is telling me that they have a real risk for heart attacks and heart disease. I don't think that's the case. Taking everything into account, looking at all of their blood work. And so I won't necessarily think a statin's indicated because, they're living healthy, and that number is just a number. You have to take it into account with everything else. I have seen many older people, 80s, 90s with very high cholesterols, not on statins, living fine. I think we've all kind of heard this as well. And so, you don't necessarily need to be on a statin and think that that's just going to cure everything if you just have high cholesterol. It's really you have to understand it's a big complex picture and take everything into account. And that's really the art of health, the art of medicine. And that's sort of how I like to do things. And I think it's just also like a common sense approach that maybe we need to be thinking more.